It's another water level, yay! But thankfully this is the last one of this entire game. Yes, Deep Trouble is last place on this list of this warp room, just like the previous one. And it's once again the same problems I have with this level as I had with the previous level. The controls are weird, the physics are wonky, and the enemies are generally just a pretty big nuisance. And of course, since this is a repeated theme, they introduce more obstacles along the way. And unlike other new obstacles in previous levels, these new enemies are actually rather difficult to bypass. Okay, well, at least they actually are a real problem. These are the wind currents, which are generating small tornadoes, which is gonna suck you in if you even get close to it. You can only bypass them if you actually take damage with the Uka Uka mask, or you're actually able to time it perfectly to swim by. But one pixel away and you're hurt or killed. So yeah, this is also the first level where you can actually take a smaller route to finish this level. But of course, if you actually want to finish the level authentically, to get all of the boxes as well as collect the crystal, then as well as the gem, well, you have to actually go through an alternate method in order to get everything before you can actually finish this level. And by the way, just to point some things out, when you actually get this gem, you will unlock something in a later level, just to point it out. Overall, it is on a low placement by default because it's a water level. Of course, not the worst level in the world, far from it. In a world of all of the video games in the entire world, they're definitely worse level than this. Although, it is a water level, which does bring it down to last place on this list. The positive though is that this is the last underwater level in the entire game. Let's move on to the next one. Alright, it's yet another repeated theme. This one is Dynamite, and it's the last prehistoric level in this entire game. Yeah, the third warp room is really the one of goodbyes. It makes it number 4, unfortunately, because it is simply just not that interesting of a theme to me. Sure, there are a few new features that wasn't in the original prehistoric level. I'm talking of course about this small dino, which, fun fact, in the beta of this game, you actually got to use the dino in the first prehistoric level. But he was moved to this one, I can only because Naughty Dog wanted this level to feel like an upgrade to the previous one. And yeah, to be fair, it actually is a pretty decent level, just really boring in my mind. The color scheme is the same, and despite the introduction of a speed boost and a small dino, that isn't really enough to alleviate the experience of this level that much. Much like the robotic fish in the underwater levels, this dino doesn't actually follow you all the way. At some point, you know, to this middle section, he just leaves behind and you have to actually go out without him. Yeah, sure, he's not completely useless, it is pretty cool. You do become a bit faster and he does gain some extra height when jumping. And he can actually take the hit. But we cannot, unfortunately, end this level without the tried and true old-fashioned chase section. And like I said, the speed boosts are really only present at this part. They do well enough, although it is a run towards the camera section, and those can be rather difficult if you actually gain more speed. But said though, level 4 of this warp room, it's simply not enough for me to place it other than 4. But that's probably because the other platforming levels just have a much stronger theme and are more memorable. Alright, now we're moving on to Road Crash, another repeated theme, and this has got to be the worst subject of broken real estate I've ever seen. The road is broken at several points in this entire level. It's simply just... The police is just as useless as ever. They are standing in that one location where you can just bypass them without them actually chasing you at all. Wouldn't that be a cool addition? Well, maybe it was done because of the hardware limitations at the time. Who knows? Yeah, this one is a lot more difficult than the previous one. Now, instead of there being simply 6 races, there's now 8, and you start off at the 8th place. Yes, it is more realistic. Yes, it does become a bit more annoying, but it actually works really well as an upgrade to this level theme. But of course, the dumbass judge simply is at the finish line to give you the power crystal once you finish first place. You know, I could accept you finishing whatever place, maybe in the top 3 in the previous level to get a crystal, and here I can understand it too. But why is no one actually showing up to you or maybe handing you over that trophy? I mean, who's even dealing it out to you? Did Cortex do this? Did Neo Troopy? Maybe did Engine? Whoever had this idea that you could only be given the power crystal while on the first place is an absolute genius. A real annoying, yes, but a genius regardless. So yeah, it is placed at number 3 because it is a step up in terms of difficulty compared to the previous driving level, and it can take time for you to actually beat it. As for me, well, I actually sort of like it. I think it's annoying, but that's because it is actually a fair challenge. Next up! Okay, number 2 is Doubleheader, the last medieval themed level. Seriously, what's the fascination of ending level themes at Warp Room 3? If you wanted to have a longer medieval themed level, then this is the level for you. Yeah, it's a repeated theme, and this time it's set during a rainstorm. But it is unfortunately not really much to say about it. You know what we expect by going into a medieval level. The only thing that's new are these double-headed men. They will be swinging this club back and forth and will smack crash into the screen if you actually end up touching them. This is actually a part when you actually have to use the double jump which you won from the previous battle. Just jump on top of their head and then smack them down to the ground. You can then use their bellies as a trampoline. It is a really nice touch. You could just made them disappear like the previous new enemy, but no, they didn't. But it is always that thing of that you're ending this level right at the entrance to a castle. Why couldn't you just go into the castle? Nothing is explained, but who cares? It's a video game. This is placed at number 2 because I simply just like this level, and it is the last medieval themed level of this entire game. From this point onwards, no more underwater levels, no more prehistoric levels, and no more medieval levels. Am I sad? Am I crying? No, not at all. No. Number 1 is High Time, the 1 or 2 levels fees which actually continues later on. This level introduces some new timing based enemies. These hooded men which are throwing coal at certain places to make them burn. How they make it burn, I absolutely no idea. There's no fire source at this period in time. Well, no gasoline. But maybe there's an alternative method to light coal which we don't know about. Now this level is a bit harder, not unbelievably harder, but a bit harder nonetheless. These flying carpets pose more of a challenge to actually do the timing well. As proven here, you simply can't just run forward and hope that you will beat this level quickly. You actually have to be a bit more calculated to reach it. This is also the first level which introduces the very dreaded death route. Basically, if you make it to this platform without actually dying at any point before reaching it, yeah, you can enter a level which is extra difficult. But you will be awarded with a purple gem at the end. These will begin to appear at several levels later on, and it's a pretty welcomed addition. For you see, if you actually want to complete the game, you have to actually go and collect as many gems as possible. Plenty of them are at death routes and other places. Of course, it's a hide and seek situation where I have to search around the level. It's not a free roamer, but it is still a great addition to an already great level. Not at all, you did a great job. So these were all of the levels ranked in Warp Room 3. Next up, I will be going over to Warp Room 4.